The clowning was relaxation for me. I enjoyed entertaining kids. Like some people are, they unwind in different ways. Either we're going out drinking or that. I could put on clown makeup and I was relaxed.
"36-year-old John Wayne Gacy has pleaded not guilty to charges of murdering 7 boys and young men, and a judge in Chicago has ordered that Gacy be examined by a psychiatrist. 27 bodies have been uncovered at Gacy's suburban Chicago home.
How's everybody doing today? So here I am in the suburb of Chicago, North Chicago, doing a video about John Wayne Gacy that I've been planning for a long time. Now, I was just thinking when I was driving over here, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy, for American serial killers, I think those are the most notorious. John Wayne Gacy, pure evil. Murdered 33 young boys or men and buried most of them underneath his house, which is right up the street here. Now the house is gone. It was demolished shortly afterwards, after they exhumed all the bodies on the property and a new house was built. I'm going to show you that house and tell you the story of John Wayne Gacy. I think this is the biggest location, even though it's not the same house, but I'm going to take you first to some other locations having to do with John Wayne Gacy, tell you the story of what I know, and yeah, it's a big subject. There's a lot of places, there's a lot of locations all over Chicago, and let's get to it. Here we go. Soon I'm going to come back here and come down this street.
John Wayne Gacy was born on March 17, 1942 in Chicago, Illinois. John Wayne Gacy and his siblings grew up with an alcoholic father who would beat the children with a razor strap if they were perceived to have misbehaved. Gacy suffered further alienation at school, unable to play with older children due to a congenital heart condition that was looked upon by his father as another failing. He later realized he was attracted to men and experienced great turmoil over his sexuality. Gacy worked as a fast food chain manager during the 1960s and became a self-made building contractor and Democratic precinct captain in the Chicago suburbs in the 1970s. Well-liked in his community, Gacy organized cultural gatherings and was active in political organizations and the JC's civic group. He was married and divorced twice and had 2 biological children, in addition to 2 stepdaughters. Gacy was a member of a Chicago area Jolly Joker Clown Club, and frequently performed in clown attire and makeup at children's parties, charity fundraisers, other events as his alter egos Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. The killer clown sometimes lured his victims with the promise of construction work or some other ruse, and then captured, sexually assaulted, tortured, and eventually strangled most of them with his hands or with rope. Years later, during a conversation with detectives while he was under surveillance, Gacy discussed his work as a clown, remarking, "Clowns can get away with murder." In 1968, Gacy was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 teen boys and given a 10-year prison sentence. He was released on parole in the summer of 1970, but was arrested again the following year after another teen accused Gacy of sexual assault. The charges were dropped when the boys didn't appear during the trial. By the middle of the 1970s, 2 more young males accused Gacy of rape, and he would be questioned by police about the disappearances of others. Gacy referred to this period of his life as his cruising years, when he committed most of his murders. On December 11th, 1978, 15-year-old Robert Pice went missing. It was reported to police that the boy was last seen by his mother at a drugstore where he worked before he headed out to meet Gacy to discuss a potential construction job. 10 days later, a police search of Gacy's house in Norwood Park, Illinois, uncovered evidence of his involvement in numerous crimes, including murder. It was later discovered that Gacy had committed his first known killing in 1972, taking the life of 16-year-old Timothy McCoy after luring the youth to his home. After a lengthy period of police surveillance and investigation, and the discovery of several trenches filled with human remains in the crawl space beneath his house, Gacy eventually confessed to killing close to 30 people. Over the years, there have been lingering concerns that Gacy may have been responsible for the deaths of other people whose bodies have yet to be found. And when police uncovered human remains in Gacy's house in 1978, 8 bodies could not be identified. Gacy's trial began on February 6, 1980.
Criminal courtroom where began the largest mass murder trial in this nation's history.
The murder trial of John Gacy did indeed get underway today with opening statements from the prosecution and the defense. Vivian Rosenberg is covering the trial.
Security was tight at court today, and some people coming in had more than a passing interest in the case.
Well, my feelings, I'd like to see them, do something to him besides put him in a, institution. I'd like to see him be, killed, if I got my feelings to say.
Prosecutor Robert Egan named Mrs. Wood's son along with all of Gacy's other victims as he opened for the state. Egan described Gacy as rational, premeditated, and evil, who killed his victims like flies when they got in his way. Carefully planned murders that resulted in bodies and bodies and bodies, day after day after day. Defense attorney Robert Mata countered to the jury that by any standards, Gacy is insane. He sleeps with corpses in a house where bodies have been buried for years. Can that be normal? What kind of a mind is that? The defense will show Gacy is deeply ill. Testimony in this case will begin tomorrow morning. It's expected that the prosecution will call as its first witness one of the family members of one of the victims.
With Gacy having confessed to the crimes, the arguments were focused on whether he could be declared insane and thus remitted to a state mental facility. Gacy had told police that the murders had been committed by an alternate personality, while mental health professionals testified for both sides about Gacy's mental state. After a short jury deliberation, Gacy was ultimately found guilty of committing 33 murders, and he became known as one of the most ruthless serial killers in U.S. history. He was sentenced to serve 12 death sentences and 21 natural life sentences. Gacy was imprisoned at the Menard Correctional Center in Illinois for almost a decade and a half, appealing the sentence and offering contradictory statements on the murders in interviews. Though he had confessed, Gacy later denied being guilty of the charges, and he even had a 900 telephone number set up with a 12-minute recorded statement declaring his innocence. As both anti-death penalty forces and those in favor of the execution made their opinions known, Gacy died by lethal injection on May 10, 1994 at the Stateville Correctional Center in Crest Hill, Illinois. Right there where that blue car is in the middle, this is the location where Greyhound bus station used to be. Right here at Clark and Randolph in downtown Chicago. And that is where John Wayne Gacy picked up his first victim.
This is the Interstate 55 bridge going over the Des Plaines River right outside of Joliet. And this is where John Wayne Gacy confessed to dumping, and I hate that term, but dumping 5 bodies into the river below. After the police had discovered all the bodies at Gacy's house, one police officer remembered that Gacy was also a maintenance man at a building here on West Miami Avenue. And he had one time been in the area and seen John Wayne Gacy digging in the middle of the night, right here on this front lawn here. He asked him what he was doing. He said, oh, not enough hours in the day, something to that effect. And neighbors said afterwards that they saw him digging trenches here. So the police did not want to, this is a few years afterwards when all this came out, the police didn't want to reopen the case. They finally were forced to, but apparently they gave like a half-assed effort at it. I'm not too sure. That's what I've read. There's a white tent set up right behind me, and that's where they were digging, right in here. Nothing was ever found, but there's compelling evidence that there were more victims and possibly buried here, right behind me. And John Wayne Gacy moved his mother into this apartment building as well. As you can see, simple little building, but it's definitely old. It's been around a long time. John Wayne Gacy picked up his last victim, Robert Peast, from a pharmacy. Told him he was looking for someone to help him with construction, of course, his usual MO. The boy told his mother, who was waiting outside to pick him up, he was working at the pharmacy. He was just going outside to talk to him about a construction job. He never returned. Now, the building is right across the street. It still exists. It's not a pharmacy anymore. It's a preschool and daycare. I didn't realize that. I thought it was a restaurant when I looked it up. So I was planning on filming right up close, but it's a daycare and preschool, like I said. So I'm now across the street and I'm going to film it from across the street. I don't want to be that guy that's, filming the building outside. It's a preschool. That's really weird. And I don't want to see anybody through the windows or anything. But the building looks the same, and you still see the stuff on the side. So it's very interesting to look at. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what happened. So that's the building right there where it says Millie's house. daycare and preschool. And if you look to the right, you see there, that still matches up, but that sign is sticking out, the beer sign, just to the right of the daycare's emblem. That's where it happened. That's where he picked up his last victim. On December 20th, 1978, John Wayne Gacy made his first confession to his lawyer. It was in this building right here, and it lasted for hours overnight. Right here. In this little suburban area right here, take a look. Houses, stores, there's this giant warehouse. And this belongs to the Cook County Sheriff's Department. And in here, there's a room dedicated to John Wayne Gacy, where they store items of significance of his and of his victims. In this building right here.
Town to town, I wander around. This I will tell you now. This I will allow. She combs a distant shore. She don't hear no more.
So originally there were 9 unidentified victims of John Wayne Gacy. And that number is now down to 6. They had the funeral for all 9 back in 1981 at the Abbey, which is right here. It's a funeral home right here at this cemetery. And the remains of 8 of the young men or boys were taken to various cemeteries across the county, across Illinois. And one is here at Oak Ridge Cemetery. And that's where I decided I wanted to end my video with. There's so many victims. I thought, how am I going to visit? How would I visit them all? How would I choose one and leave out someone else? All 33 of those lives are equal and just as important. So I thought to myself, well, I'll visit an unknown victim, because I don't know how many people come out to visit the unknown victims. And people think maybe, well, their families just didn't want them, or just they never search for them. I hope the opposite, and hope the remaining 6 are identified at some point. Yeah, it's just really, really weird being here. That's a weird thing to say. It's weird being here. It's just sad. But the gravesite is right here. They all say the same thing. I believe it says "we remember" or "we remembered." But right here, I'm going to try to find one of the last 6 unidentified victims of John Wayne Gacy. And that's my video about John Wayne Gacy and the absolute atrocities that he committed and how terrible he was. Wherever he is, I hope he's rotting. And that was one of the last 6 unidentified victims. Okay, it's the last location. Thanks for watching. Peace and love to all the victims and their families. And peace and love to you. Peace out.
Gacy was arrested in 1978. When investigators searched his home, they found the unthinkable. More than 24 bodies.
He concealed the bodies of his victims in his own home. in the crawl space. He had a dirt and rock crawl space where he would excavate shallow graves and place the victims.